Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the Superstars of Wrestling Review series. June the 27th, 1992 is on tap for today. My goal is to get at least another couple months up in the next few days. As mentioned earlier, it's going to be harder because not all of the Superstar stuff is up. I wish the whole series was up. I would be reliving my glory years in childhood and fandom and all that good stuff. Anyway, British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith versus Nick Danger. What a enhancement talent name there. They do have Bulldog shirts out at the time. By looking at the crowd, I did not remember this from my younger fandom. I do remember the British Bulldog tag team shirts. I did not remember they had shirts for Davey Boy, but it does make sense. Anyway, Davey Boy tries to use power early and does. He's put on so much mass here, it's actually unhealthy. And we see him hit a hip toss early, vertical suplex, the hanging variety, holds him up there for a good 20-30 seconds, drives him down, and it is very clear that the British Bulldog is in control here. Then whips him off the ropes, and the Bulldog basically says he's looking to get even with the Repo Man, thinking about this being about a month before SummerSlam. They start to hype the SummerSlam match with Bret Hart in the next week or two. But not quite there yet. Big clothesline in the corner. And the big power slam by Davey Boy Smith gets the victory. Then we move on to Tatanka with an update. He goes to the Native American tribal lands. He talks with the kids, talks about avoiding drugs and alcohol, talks about holding on to American pride, talks about wanting to be the best Native American athlete he can be, the red hair symbolizing the blood of the tribes, and etc. and so forth. They're really trying to push Tatanka as kind of the next big Native American star. I know that the WWF has always had a tendency towards ethnic stars, for lack of a better term, and that is not any different here. Rick Johnson and Chico Martinez versus the Nasty Boys. Nasty Boys, former tag team champions. They are still being led around by Jimmy Hart. They have not turned yet. They don't turn until probably about a year from now, maybe a little less. But anyway, Knobs in there and Big Back Elbow. Knobs and Sags, of course, coming out of the AWA and transferring over to the WWF, becoming champions there, and Bulldog by Knobs, which is actually kind of surprising. Not in his normal arsenal, but then they do the pit stop, Pity City thing. Owen and Coco Beware talk about wanting to get even with the Nasty Boys, wanting to run them out of town. Talk about high energy being better than the Nasties ever could be. Clothesline by Brian Knobs and tries to take the head off of his opponent, which isn't particularly hard to do when they're not really fighting back, but regardless, ugly to see. Knobs goes for the power slam. Sags goes up for the elbow drop from the top, and that is that. El Matador continues his campaign that he has a lot of people to challenge. Mentions Papa Shango, mentions the Skinner and various others. Repo Man still harping on about wanting to get even with the people for not letting them steal him steal their stuff, and B, wanting to get even with various others, including the British Bulldog. So I mean, these promos that have been entered in, not exactly great. Anyway, Razor Ramon out there. There is a lady that comes up, said they had a good time last night. He said no, she's had a good time. He's done with her, basically dismisses her, says he's not coming to the WWF to have a good time, coming to take names and kick butt, basically, in different words. He's sitting there with a glass of wine. He's calling himself El Jefe, otherwise known as the Boss. He is on top of the game, and soon will be here to wreak a lot of havoc. Glenn Ruth, one half of the Headbangers, against Virgil. Not a good card to draw if you're an enhancement talent, but it is what it is. You take the work you can get for anywhere from $250 to $500 a day, Even Virgil isn't that bad an opponent. Anyway, Virgil off with some clotheslines. Ruth has trouble getting over the top rope. Virgil actually does some form of momentary dive over the top, sends his opponent into the ropes. Back suplex, folds the kid up on his head, really kind of ugly looking. And then we see Virgil still in control. Virgil again. And I mean, to see a Pescado, which is basically what it was, dive over the top in 1992 is a pretty big deal. Virgil back in, tries to do the I'm going to stomp you in the groin spot with the fans. He does a lazy kick, and it's clear to see he's not all that inspired to be there. Virgil does hit the Russian leg sweep. 1, 2, 3, gets a victory. And we go to the event center, Natural Disasters, talking about wanting Money Inc., talking about being one of the best tag teams in the world, wanting the championships back, and continuing the good fight, so to speak. Then we go to Papa Shango. Papa Shango says he's got control over everybody. He's going to continue to reign control over everybody. The Berserker against Bruce Mitchell. No, not the Bruce Mitchell who runs the torch, but is part of the torch. But anyway, Mr. Fuji takes the Berserker on down, and Berserker kick right to the face, and pretty aggressive there. They are building up in hype still, the Undertaker and Berserker matches. Berserker with a forward falling slam. Berserker then takes Mitchell and launches him over the top rope to the floor at Fuji's bequest request. And, again, Berserker gets the countout victory. Legion of Doom return to their Chicago home. They've done this vignette for a while yet. I think they did it at WrestleMania 8, something like that. Basically, the idea is they are digging for and ending up finding Rocco among their roots, and that is not good for their career. J.A. Gooden versus Nails. Gooden, a quick adversary, big red-headed kid. Nails gets his name in quotation marks. Don't really understand why. Nails with punches, kicks, scratches, tries to take the nose off, tries to do every underhanded tactic one can imagine. Actually uses a choke right around the throat. Referee doesn't know to stop it. Drops the arm 3 times. And Gooden unable to continue. Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, Dwayne Gill. As mentioned before, Texas Tornado, a former Intercontinental Champion, and obviously, if you've listened to our World Class series, you know everything he did over there. That's 340 parts long. If you haven't gone over there to check that out, worth giving it a check. But Kerry Von Erich coming back after taking some time off for rehab does not bode well for him, though. Von Erich has a very short match here. Dwayne Gill does the best he can, but can't get a lot out of Von Erich. Von Erich snaps over Gill with a suplex and then pulls him back to his feet. Doesn't even do the traditional punches he normally does. Actually lets Gill get a couple shots in on him, but a reversal. And then the discus punch, 1, 2, 3, by Kerry Von Erich. And then we go to Kamala versus John Blade as our second to the end of the program. Kamala punches, kicks, and the like. Takes quite a while to get to the ring. Cam Shee and Harvey Whippleman there to try to control Kamala. They have difficulty doing this, as one would expect. Kamala manages to get somewhat distracted on the outside. Cam Shee calling for whatever spots needed. Pulls the enhancement talent up by the throat. Kamala hits the big splash and continues the choke. Kamala gets your victory here. Event center with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels basically says he's the best thing going and most attractive thing going in the WWF today. Says he's going to be the Intercontinental Champion. Not Bret Hart or anyone else is going to stand in the way of him doing this. Then Sergeant Slaughter thanks the fans for giving him his country back. He says he's glad to have his country back, and we close the program for today. We'll be back with more right after this.